So, hi everyone, welcome to Doc Lisboa and to this conversation over the retrospective on Georgian cinema that we had physically in the Portuguese Cinematheque over the last few days. It was an amazing travel that we had over the Georgian cinematography over almost a century, and here with us we have our guide of this amazing trip that is Marcelo Felix that curated the retrospective. And I'm also happy to have with us some filmmakers that show their films in this very special program. Thank you so much for joining Anuna Bukia, the director of I Swam in Guri, Ovashvili, director of Corn Island, Mariam Kandelaki, director of The Youth and the Leopards, and it's a black screen still, but Levan Lomjaria from the Georgian National Film Center, that the Film Center was an amazing partner and precious partner that helped us organize this retrospective. They have been doing a very important work in recovering a lot of the older films of Georgian cinema, and Marcelo will talk and contextualize about this work of the National Film Center as well, I believe. Yeah, we had this program here in Lisbon. It was a beautiful trip that even though we had, of course, a special context while presenting it, we had a very engaged audience, and it was a really nice emotional moment to see like that this gesture of going to the cinema is still there. And also we are going to, just for the people that are watching us and they want to still continue to be engaged with this Georgian focus that we're having. The retrospective is going to have a different iteration, a different body over from the 3rd to the 15th of November. Is going to be available. Some of the films that were presented, also new films that were added to the program, will be available on deafilms.com, which is a platform that Doc Lisboa is partnered with, so you can watch films online. So I'm gonna pass my words to Marcelo. Thank you so much, and yeah, I hope you have a nice conversation, and thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you.
Hello all, and thank you again for being here. The retrospective was, as Joanna said, very comprehensive in terms of scope of time, and there was a balance between silent films and several areas of Georgian film inside the USSR, and then these 3 decades of independence of your now young old country. I'd like to know about more about the way that contemporary Georgian cinema is interacting with the reality of Georgian society, since I think Georgian cinema is still very much friendly to the idea of an author cinema. And so there is this balance between the individuality, the very personal careers and ideas of the creators, and movement that precedes all of you in terms of a seriousness in debating the role of Georgia in the world, and of course the internal context. I'd like to hear from all of you, maybe beginning in alphabetic order by Anuna, that has had her first feature selected for her first documentary feature selected for the education system in Georgia as well. Anuna, your thoughts, please.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me. It's a great honor to be with Mariam and Georgi together around one table. So what I can say, I'm still in the how to say, in the beginning of to be in cinema, and I don't want to analyze a lot, but I can share a bit with my personal feelings and reflections, how I feel it, how it goes. I think the first of all about the first question about what is going right now in Georgian cinema. Yes, nowadays the modern cinema. That was the question, and then was more educational part, I guess. I think because we are suffering a lot politically and socioeconomically, and we all generations they have a memory of the war. It was the time without making cinema, and it was not easy. And right now, everyone is trying, the people from a different generation, to do something to express themselves, because we had no chance to do it for a long time. I mean, since 2005, more or less, the elder cinematographers and the filmmakers, they start to do it, and right now the people younger me, they're actively coming, and their vision is more specific, more loud, more pointed maybe, but it's interesting process, because we are in the process of modern cinema, what is happening in the world, but somehow we are a bit still somewhere else because of again these political processes we had. And so yeah, right now I live in Spain, and for me it's here I feel how hard it was to not to have a previous generation who is giving you an truth, I mean who is giving you a who is showing you a way how to be in cinema. But I think during these last 2 years, it's more and more possible to have this, to get the knowledge from the generation before you, something about cinematography in general. I think it's also important of understanding cinema in a way that how multidisciplinary it is. And I think we still need to understand that there are a lot of places in cinema where we can be, not just only be filmmakers or directors, but a good DOP, good assistant directors, good first AD. This is something we still don't know, and we still need to learn a bit. Yeah, this is the kind of educational part. I have a feeling that we are more to indie films and the author cinema, maybe because of our geographical and in general ethnic identity, who we are as a people from Georgia, from this place, not only Georgians, but everyone from this place. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes, it's somehow connected with this. And also the country is not so big to be a part of the big production process, maybe. And that's why it's kind of, we are making that kind of choice. I mean, there might be a lot of reasons why we are doing that, why we are doing author cinemas. It's ethnic character, it's a feeling, it's is it who we are, or maybe we are more, we are less, I don't know. It's still in process, and I think during this, the next 5 years, it will be more clear what is happening and what is going to happen in future with this Georgian cinematography.
It's also maybe due to the feature of production strategy that maybe Mariam can add to in her appreciation of this subject. Georgian cinema now, the relevance of it, and the balance between the authorship, the individual, and the movement, and how it reflects society and how it is reflected in society.
Yeah, so I think it's the same like in the whole world. I mean, I think from my side that there is no big difference how cinema reflects in Georgia or how cinema reflects in France, the audience. Yeah, so it's a general problem, and there is the general rules kind of. Yeah, so there is this commercial cinema, there is this artistic creative cinema visions and films, and I think, and I'm happy that in Georgia, the Georgian National Film Center still supports the movies which are very artistic, and it's very important, because I know in the other Western countries how heavy it is to finance the creative films. And I think it's a good luxury at the moment for Georgian cinematographers that, for example, the Georgian producers, they don't have to pay back the fundings, yeah, so which is very common in Germany, for example. Yeah, so there are a lot of good sides in this, but also the financing is very, very little from Georgian National Film Center, and that's the other side of the problem. So there's this different views, and so one can discuss this along. So.
It's in fact something that Georgia shares with Portugal, this possibility of sustained support, even with low budgets, to non-commercial films, or films intended not necessarily to be to have an answer in which box office is completely relevant and necessary to the project.
In Georgia, I will add something. In Georgia, it's very heavy to bring actually cinema to the audience. So there is only one festival. There are only 2 or 3 cinemas in whole Georgia. So and in TV sometimes they screen the movies. So it's a big problem of distribution in Georgia. So because it's a not rich country, and of course it's connected all to political and to social issues, definitely.
Although there's this lack of film theaters in Georgia, which is really something that is very surprising due to your to the numbers of your production, and the attendance of Georgian films is not high as well. If I read this clear, but you have, and this is sort of disproportionate. Lots of animation film festivals, even in little in a little scale. But could you tell me something about this? Because
yes, so I'm running Nicosia Animation Film Festival. Yes. This year we had to have 11th edition, but it was postponed because of coronavirus. And so it's in a small village, so on the border where the war was in 2008, and so that's the last village, and this is our support for the kids, and not only for the kids, for the adults as well, and professionals in Georgia, because we do it for free. So it's our charity project, and so we support this place with animation. So we are fighting against the, so to say, tanks. So with animation, with love for animation, and there are several small studios also all over the Georgia, also in the small cities. And there is another festival in Batumi, and also the younger festival in Tbilisi. So there are 3 festivals. So that's quite okay number for such a small country. And we had a great history for animation, and I'm trying all my best to develop this animation nowadays in Georgia, and that we could get more and more interested youngers in this space.
The quality of Georgian animation throughout history is something also very clear, and we had the occasion of discovering some of the classics, some of the authors from before the independence and the contemporary production. We'll talk a little more about this in terms of subject, because now I would like to point that you all have been dealing with projects that approach the reality of territory, the loss of territory, and the need to make this situation, make sense of this situation, and think about ways of moving on the country in such conditions. All three projects, I Swam and Guri by Anuna Bukia, The Youth and the Leopard in a different way, but
yeah, it's about
some of your other films as well, which carry a message, an anti-war and anti-aggression message, and Georgi Ovashvili's Corn Island deal for me with the in a especially empathetic way with the reality of both sides in this situation. Georgi, and this is mainly my recognition of Corn Island as a very unusual and important film. It was in your film that I could listen to a little bit of Abkhazian, which is a sort of outlandish language. Could you tell me something about? I know that you have you thought about shooting a film. Making a production in Abkhazia, and that is not yet possible. But how is Georgian society and Georgian films approaching this reality nowadays?
So first of all, thank you very much for inviting us at this roundtable. And thanks for screening Georgian cinema in Lisboa. About Corn Island, this is my second long fiction. Actually, I started a bit before with my first film, which was the title "The Other Bank." And there was the problem about ethno conflict between Georgian and Abkhazians. And then after finishing this film, somehow I felt that I could not tell all what I wanted to tell with this film. That's why I decided to shoot another film about this subject, which was the Corn Island. So this is the, I can say that nowadays for Georgia, this is the biggest problem, that we lost our territories. More than 20% of our territories are occupied by Russia. It's not about Georgia, about Abkhazians, about Ossetians, about Georgians. It's a problem between Russia and Georgia, who took our territories, and there is the reason for them why they took. So, but this is still the problem since our independence, and already almost 30 years we are in this kind of situation. I would like to say that during last years, somehow Georgian society somehow forgetting this problem about our country, about our lands, and less and less intention goes to this direction. Might be because of the politic or because of the I don't know, because of the many other problems we have in the country beside this. But somehow, till now, for me, it's the main problem. That's why that's why it was the idea to shoot this film. And I tried in this film that find somehow my vision, my angle, how we can see this conflict. And as you say, it's about both sides. I mean, it's about Abkhazians, it's about Georgians. And in my opinion, this is the way in the future how we can theoretically be again together, and not to search who was the right and who was wrong, because those two extremely radical vision just exist nowadays in Georgian side and Abkhazian side. So one is wrong, one is right, and I think that we all are wrongs and we all are right. So we have to find in this way kind of solution. But about cinema, I really believe that cinema can do something really important to find a way between the people, between the hearts of the people, because cinema is emotion. So, and the emotion is always the shortest way to get to the people. That's why this Corn Island, I tried to go by this direction as in my first film and second, and then in the third one, and finally I got this trilogy about this subject, about hardest time of Georgia, 1990s.
Okay, it's something, as I said, that is a subject that all of you have been treating in a very empathetic way. Anuna Bukia was born in Sukhumi, and she gave us her documentary with parts of it of new images, sort of shaken and clandestine, that you could you could have reached Abkhazia in any different way, you think, in terms of asking for collaboration, of having interlocutors there. Is there any cinematographic community in Abkhazia that you know?
Yeah, there is some community. There are some young directors. I know some of them via Facebook, not personally, unfortunately. When I was shooting my first film, The Other Bank, which is also about the ethnic conflict between Georgia and Abkhazia, as I said, there is a story about a little boy who's going back to after the war to his homeland in Abkhazia to find his father, and somehow I was believing that I really can find a way to shoot some scenes in Abkhazia, because half of the film happens in Abkhazia. And I tried many different ways that time. First time I was almost sure that I can do this, because I sent the script and they read the script and they said that, okay, we see that it's not against us, that it's about just relation by people. But finally, even I tried all kind of political ways or personal ways, but finally there was no result. Even I talked to some actors, Abkhazian actors. I wanted them in a film. They living in Moscow now, but they said that sorry, because if we play in Georgian film, then we never can go back to Abkhazia because we will be the kind of traitors. So finally, I understand that I had to shoot the film in Georgia. But after finishing the film, I had a lot of meetings to Abkhazian people in different countries. They living in different countries, and they were coming to the screening of my film, and after the screening, they were coming always to me and telling that, look, even with the tears, that look, we are Abkhazians, but this is we understood now that what is the real way to make a step to each other. And it was really, of course, very touching for me. Even after Corn Island, I would like to say that I had even some problem in Georgia, a lot of problems about my first film and about my second film as well, because it's very strange, but a lot of Georgians told me, was saying that this is the pro-Abkhazian film. And why Georgian director doing this kind of films? Because that's not the right. But there was even big scandal in when I screened the film for Georgian Parliament. There was a special screening there, and after the screening, I really had a very hard time. During 2 hours, they were pushing me on the wall, that saying that you are creator because you did a film for about the Abkhazians. It's a pro-Abkhazian film. It's very strange. It's kind of I don't know. I have a feeling that nobody, even right now, nobody want to try to find a way how to get together. I knew one Abkhazian girl who graduated GIG in Moscow, which is
yes.
You know GIG. And this year I had some kind of I was a mentor in Germany in one of the festival Go East with Baden, and there we wanted to bring the young directors from the countries where these ethnic conflicts. So I contacted to her and offered her that we could bring her to Germany for this kind of master class. She was very happy. The Germans sent to her the invitation, but right after a few days later, she just disappeared. And when I asked her on the Facebook that, where are you? Because are you ready? You have already visa or something like that. She said that no, because my master from GIG, he said that never go to this kind of meeting because this would be very political for you and don't go there. And she started that, no, because this is kind of political trying for me to bring me there because Georgians killed my father and so on. So there is no trust even till now.
Not yet. Yes.
This is kind of example. I would like to say that from both sides that there is no connection, no trust, which is most important. And unfortunately, they are always between us again, our big neighbor. what is very, very sad.
How is your experience, Anuna, now? Because of the film that you made and the contacts that you have with the region, and the fact that you've been working, in fact, in a whole different media about this subject.
So I think the thing with war topic and the conflict and territorial integrity and occupation, this is something which affects everyone who lives or who born in Georgia. It's something you should know, and you should have the feelings. But I agree with Georgi. I had the same feeling when I start to work on film, that the people start to forget it because of social problems and also because of domestic political issues. Most of the people in the local government and maybe in another level of government, they are not enough educated about conflict. There is no any vision. There is no any human vision or any individual, any artistic. And there are some helps, there are some steps, but it's always, they are not in the same time. There's some readiness, for example, right now from Abkhazian side, but we don't have a time for them because we are too busy with our inside domestic things. About having Abkhazians in projects, as Georgi mentioned, yes, it's always like that because they grow up isolated and they still are quite isolated, and they need to make a choice between the enemy and big enemy. And in this case, they understand that Russia is enemy, but we are bigger. Because the Georgian part of the young generation, I was 4 years old when I was forced from my house. I'm 32 right now, and everyone around me, they are more positive about Abkhazian people than the same generation from Abkhazian side. I know some people, but I think the theater is more active right now because there is one young, very active person who is doing a lot of playings there. But cinema, it's a bit complicated to do there. In general, because of isolation, the artsy life, there are some very nice people, artists, but it's kind of, it's not easy to make social art or multimedia art because you can be forced from society. It's not easy to speak up about the problems. So they're having more problems inside society, inside their societies when we have right now. So about my film, yes, I had this anger that they start to stop thinking about that. And I was still dealing, and I am still in the process, because I believe that once the war happened with you, you need to deal with for your whole life. And it's a very, very hard process, because you feel that you have some feelings that, okay, I got some answers, now it's the end, I can move. And then the new is coming, and new and new and new. So emotionally, it was the process to be person, to survive in war. It's difficult, let's say. The much more difficult is to explain to other people how difficult it is when you are outside the country, because you are dealing with this everyday basis. For example, right now, sometimes for me it's a bit fun, so that the young people's crises and the problems in Europe, because I mean, we didn't have the time to have a youth crisis, you know, because we needed to deal with with the crisis bigger, the politicals, about the state, about the concept of the enemy, about the whole concept of the home, and that kind of stuff. So the filming itself, it wasn't a lot of things was not planned to do. I think I was doing it for myself. In the beginning, the film was about other people woman who is swimming the river, not about me.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very last moment when the Jewish Georgian director, who is war topic in Israel, she showed me that okay, everything is good, but this film is about you. Let's do it in that way. And so it became film about me. And yes, I had some issues, but I think when you have this kind of when you're doing something about conflict area, and there's a big group of the people who is not informed well, or who lived for a long time isolated, it's the common problem, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a life with the enemies, or some transitory reality that is always happening in the Caucasus. The fact that
of the enemy for us, I mean, it's very difficult because you are bound, you are pushed, you need to think more, you need to have a position, and since you were born, you need to understand who is your enemy. And in this case, with Abkhazian and Ossetian people, it's very clear that we had this conflict between these ethnic groups. It was supported by Russia, and for us, the difficult part of this process is Russia, which is still staying to be a biggest enemy of our country, not only in part of the occupied territories, but in part of disinformation, informational war. During the COVID, we affected a lot. And so when you're trying to build a democratic, liberal, human community, or you're asking yourself to be a human, you're asking yourself to be a person who is doing art, which means that you should be comprehensive and you should understand both sides. Yes, this question always comes, and it's always difficult. For example, I did my first master in Russia, which I still feel that it was crazy decision, but I needed it because I needed some answers. So to decide, are they really my enemies, or the enemy of my community and humans and the people around me? Did they do war to me? Did they support the war? And did I lose my home because of them? So, and yes, it was difficult to be there, and it was difficult to find the answers. And right now I have my strong position, but I needed time to decide what the position I have, because it's always about the state and about the people too. And so.
Yes, for sure, Mariam. There's these contradictions as well in terms of this enmity. The reality of Caucasus has been for centuries to learn to live with your enemy. And in fact, the enemy that we live with maybe became something else, just like it is stated in the film that finished this retrospective, Lena Gogoberidz's The Golden Thread. The reality that also as programmers we met in Georgia was that lots of prints were not available in Georgia. So we had to make the same appeal that Georgia has done to Russia, to strike a deal in order for the films of the Soviet period to return to Tbilisi and be restored, etc. So there are these informal bridges between the cinematographic community as well. What do you think is the idea of the society in a whole, but particularly the young people, in terms of the Soviet period, the films of the Soviet period, the creators of the Soviet period, the generation that precedes yours?
Yeah, so I will just jump back to the topic that you were discussing before. And I will just mention my film in the sense that our neighbors and the war and all the histories of my film is talking about the forgiveness. So as an artist, it was my wish to show this position, and so just in 2 words, yeah. So
the young man's mother and the leopard's mother.
Exactly, yeah. So so the main topic was this forgiveness topic, because I think that's the most necessary nowadays with the neighbors or with the human beings in general, how we have to treat each other. So. And yeah, so the print problem, it's really huge in Georgia. The films which were done in Soviet times, and because we're having all our prints in Moscow, so the old films, and unfortunately, young generation, they could not watch it, and so either it's in YouTube channel, some very old version with the scratches, and the sound is impossible just to see. And in this case, I would like to mention, and big thank to you, to your programmer, that you choose such a movies, for example, the animation movies, which never ever have been shown abroad. For example, Levan Bobo. So it's amazing.
Which came from Moscow, by the way.
Yes, so I really wish to see this film, because I was very young when Levan was doing this movie, and he was my father's student. So I remember him and David Tagaishvili very well. And so I'm really looking forward to see this copy someday. And yeah, so, and also I would like to mention the Ranina. That's really very, very good Georgian animation film, which young generation, they don't know at all. So it's so big obrigado to your.
It was my pleasure, and I thought it was so funny that Jansug Hakidze was the author of all the voices that we are able to listen to.
It was very typical for Georgian animation industry that the famous artists like David Kakabadze or Lado Gudiashvili were involved in the creating of the art design for the animation films, and also the actors there. They love always the famous actors like Berik Anjaparidze or so others. They really loved to make dubbing for animation, like to make voiceovers for animation films. So it was a big culture. So.
Yes, we could listen to some famous Georgian actors in some of these films, like in Komble, and so we could notice how seriously animation was taken by the acting community as well. Would you say that with this effort in restoration, these films, the animation and the features of silent era and all the history of Soviet Georgia are being more appreciated by the younger generation? You told me it was difficult to access, but do you have any idea?
I hope they will enjoy, because so unfortunately there was this big gap, and the kids nowadays, they grew up on Tom and Jerry, and I mean on foreign movies like comic movies or but not Georgian. I mean, of course, it's a nice films, but it's not the traditional Georgian animation films, because the younger kids, they could not watch it. Yeah, so it was so bad copies online that of course they don't know this. But I hope after getting back the copies, then it will be also digitalized, and the younger generation, they can see. I hope so.
Well, it's something that was my curiosity. If in terms of acting, actors like Ramaz Chikvadze and Nato Vachnadze would still resonate with Georgian society nowadays. Are they like home values yet?
Yeah, for me, for example, the history of Georgian animation starts with the amazing film from Gote Mikaberidze, My Grandmother.
Yes,
because
it was shown with big success here.
I'm sure it's really masterpiece. And because at that time they were doing some animation, but it was like Bolshevik propaganda animation films. And Kotem Kavaridze, he used all kind of techniques. Yeah, so it's really amazing. He has cutout and drawn animation and puppet animation. So for me, the history of Georgian animation starts exactly there in 1929. So it's long history.
Could you tell us something about Carlos Solakauri, which was one of the biggest revelations in this retrospective for me, and I think he is an unknown master in the West.
I knew him well because he used to work in our company in Georgia, and the artistic director of the company, Gela Kandelaki, he's my father. So I grew up in this company. I started to work there when I was 15, I guess. And I remember all the guys, and especially Carlo was, he was just, his patience to animation, it was amazing. So the puppet animation, he used to be in a theater for puppets, but then he switched to animation and he came to our studio and started. He was the very first one who started animation TV series in puppets. So that was the only what we had, and not before and not after. Nobody has done this in TV series, like to do with puppets. Yeah, so he was really amazing, and he was very artistically very rich person, and so it was really pleasure to work with him. I used to work on 2 movies with him, and it was like combining puppet and drawn animation. So I was the beginner there as an animator, so it was my really pleasure to work with him.
Well, I do hope that his work is being restored as we as we know that some of the animation is also in this process, like in pair with the documentaries and the special features. I will change the subject a little bit, and maybe unexpectedly to Georgi because of the subject. Georgia is a country that we abroad feel is very unusual in the number of women, of female directors that are having their word and directing films in such a proportion that I say is practically unique in Europe, although. This was not probably a trend in the Soviet times. So we know Lana and Nana Mchadlidze and Nana Georgiadze, but they were a minority. And nowadays, it does not happen in, I think, every field, right? How do you think this happened?
Yeah, you are right that nowadays a lot of young women directors came to New Georgian cinema, even more than the men's. In my opinion, it's not about just cinema. It's as you said, it's in every field, in a life generally. They are coming back, I can say, after Yeva. So they are back, and in the cinema as well. And they you know, how different they are from the main directors. I guess they are more active now, more full of the energy. They are more they can really fight until the end. they are more motivated. It's kind of what I see, my vision. But the men somehow they are less and less active nowadays. I don't know the reason. Maybe it's the life. It's just life. It's not just about the cinema.
It's something that some of the female-directed films from Georgia have been communicating this sense of needing to establish their independence, and at the same time the idea that society is something that should be cherished in a different way. Like the future is something that women should have a strong word about, to say. In your film, there's this idea as well in terms of women being the future, since the granddaughter, in fact, her education is cherished by her grandpa, that feels like he wants to be there when she can show him her graduation. So this is something that you also feel like a change in the collective conscience in terms of an opposition to other more archaic situations which Georgian films, both in the Soviet 20s and now contemporarily, also focus, like the kidnappings and all these practices. I don't know, Anuna, if you have something that, since being there as well as a woman trying to document a difficult situation.
I think it's still subject which needs to be analyzed, because it's, as I said in the beginning, it's still something is ongoing process. I agree with Georgie, it's connected with the social issues and the emancipation and the getting back the rights. But if you compare the films before 19th and the after, the women face of in Georgian cinema, not only about the directors, it's dramatically different. And there was a different face of the woman in communist era, and there is a different face of women right now. But also I would like to divide them. About animation, Mariam will tell more because I'm not well informed, but about documentary and fiction cinema, I think the most of the documentary filmmakers, they are coming from media background. They've been dominated, the high professionals and the people who try a lot, and they needed more voices, more stories to tell. And there is the big wave, and I mean, I think biggest ever of the documentary filmmaking directors. Then there is also very comprehensive with the fiction and the film. And it's, again, I think it's connected with the emancipation and the equality and the switching the roles maybe, or asking back something. But the thing is that is this so they are not still, I mean, they are made by Georgian directors, but it's still different because the representative of different generation, they are presenting the women's faces differently. I can't say that it's the feminist movement right now, it's very strong in Georgia, but I can't say that the films we saw before 2020, there will be, I believe it will be different after 2020 because of the changing generation and because of some ongoing projects and because of lack of time and maybe analysis for what we have done and what we need to do in the future, what we want to say more. I think there will be more feminist movies, more about equality, and the more voices from LGBT community also. right now. So, I mean, with the strong wave of women director, I think we've done. We have a bit inequality because we need more men too. It's not, it might be a good balance. And now it's time to be more open to the more, let's say, vulnerable groups. They're waiting their chance and their voices. And this is my feeling about this subject.
Mariam, in animation, is it the same
animation
trend?
Yeah, animation industry is very, very tiny in Georgia. So we have like several directors and animators, but so I would like just to talk about the last animation film which I produced, and it's we finished it in August. The director is Mariam Kandelaki, the animation supervisor Elena Murgignelli. So 70% of the crew were women. So so we will have a premiere in the end of November at Hokkaido International Festival. So it's so we are trying to teach everybody so who is interested in animation, and I'm for equality. So I'm like I think it's 50-50 in animation. So it's sometimes the whole crew are guys and men and only one animator woman, or on the other way around. So it's not really that I can say that. Yeah. So okay, the last very famous animation film, The Pocket Man, which I produced for kids. The director was also the young illustrator Anna Chubinidze, and it was the first Georgian French co-production made in animation. It was in 2016, and it ran to almost 300 festivals and get a lot of prizes. So it's yeah, so there is the woman power in animation as well in Georgia, I would say. So, but it's so tiny industry that you can't really.
But it reflects sort of a leap in education
Yes.
in Georgia, and a strategic view of these subjects. Do you think that it's the civil society is already in this point of relevance in terms of power for women?
I don't know. I can't say. I don't know. Maybe Anuna
not many politicians, not many.
Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe Anuna can say something about this topic.
Anuna surely can say something about
this.
So.
I think it's connected to the economical issue, because after 19th and after the several wars, the women, they were people who take this, how to say, the role of to be the main person in their families and then communities, to take this economical power, because it was dramatically, the situation changed dramatically from Soviet to Democratic Republic, and it was hard to men to analyze their role in that society. And for most of the women, because of the kids maybe, and because of their role given historically maybe in our community, they became more active. And then it happened step by step, but still it depends on the industry. It depends on profession. If we are talking about the government, there are not still a lot of women, and this is something we need to fight. And there is also inequality in jobs and etc. and etc. But in general, there was the biggest group of the people. The women who went to immigration in 19th, they saved the country, and they still are the people who is helping a lot the country. I think then something changed in us.
Something that is also mentioned by films by Salome Alexei and Levan, in which we can see the plight of Georgian women abroad, and the humorous reference of the way that the men have became sort of stayers, people who are left behind in the country. At the same time, there is this projection of the whole country, like trying to find new territories in terms of visibility. Georgia is being more and more visible with each year and with each cultural deed. Georgi, there's a lot of co-productions going on since decade and a half, I believe. You shot Corn Island in a state of co-production. Your main actor is a Turkish actor. This comes, I think, from the idea of co-producing. What are for you some of the possibilities and the setbacks of this situation? Georgian cinema can project itself more nowadays, but with small budgets still. But what are the main gains of this situation?
So all my film I did till now, except my last film, which I'm doing now, I'm editing. I made all my films were international co-productions between a few countries. Mainly, I worked with France, German, Czech Republic, Hungarians, with even with Kazakhstan. First of all, it's very hard to, in Georgia, it's very hard to shoot film just with Georgian money. We have only one source, financial source, who's giving the finances to Georgian cinema. This is Georgian National Film Center, and it's pity that Levan he's not with us till now.
Yes, some of these questions I would like him to to enlighten us.
Always, I'm getting something like between 20 to 25% of my budget from Georgian Film Center, not more. And there is no other other source to get the money from Georgia. So you have to always go to outside and get the majority of your budget, which is, of course, very hard job. It takes the years, and unfortunately not every, especially young directors, can do this way, because you need to somebody who have to trust you. This way always very hard, of course, to collect this amount to lock the budget. But in another way, if you could, as a director or as a producer, if you can do this kind of co-production, it gives you, of course, much more possibilities to bring your film abroad. Automatically, you have already distribution in the countries in which co-production you are. I did three my films like that. with the big co-productions. I can say big. I'm saying for Georgia, like 1.5, 1.7 million euros, something like that. But now somehow because it took from me like more than 10 years to trying to every time to get this money from abroad. And finally, like last year, I decided to try to make a film just with Georgian money. And it was very interesting for me as well, how can it work? And I got about 45,000 euros, like Georgian lari, but and I started shooting with a small crew, but mostly not professional people, but young, motivated people. And it was kind of experiment for me. It was kind of trying if it's possible or not in reality, because reality is like that. Fortunately, we managed to finish the shootings just right before pandemic came.
Yes.
So, and we were very lucky. But of course, I had a lot of help beside this 45,000 euro, like. Camera from Ari, just without no money, from Hungary and Germany, like cinematographer working without any money, etc., etc. This way, it's okay, like for me now, but for a young generation, I can say that it's really hard way, and we went through this really hard way. We had 40 shooting days in a different part of the Georgia, very difficult work. But finally, we got something. We are in editing process now. Again, we're working with distance, remotely,
yes.
And one my editor sitting in Istanbul, another my editor sitting in Barcelona. So we working like that, which is this first time for me as well, and it's quite strange, quite difficult, but quite interesting. But still I don't know now if I can manage to find the rest of the money to finish post-production works. I'm still in this kind of trouble.
Let's hope that you can.
I can imagine, even for me, who has a lot of connections to different directions, how difficult it would be this way for a young generation. They coming now and they have to start their profession.
Do you think that the urge to get more the means to shoot films will somehow compel young filmmakers to adjust, to adapt more and be less original, adapt more to the mainstream, in fact, of not only commercial films but the logic of the festivals, of film festivals?
I think for sure they need more help. First of all, they need more financial support, especially for their first film, and also somehow they need other help. Beside this, let's say, I'm always saying that I'm always ready to work with them, even as an assistant, if I can do something for them, for a new generation. And I would like to, all professionals have the same wish, same vision. So finally, I would like to say that Georgian cinema really need much more support now. Otherwise, we had like a few years ago, Georgian cinema really had kind of very good days. I mean, it was recognized everywhere, and we somehow were on top in every big film festivals and everywhere, and the media were talking abroad about Georgian cinema. And I was saying that time as well that exactly now, we need more support to keep this decision. But then we went somehow down and down, and nowadays. Again, we go there about finances. If we will not get more finances from the government, Georgian cinema one day can be invisible abroad.
Anuna, for you, your thoughts about the anxiety of co-production and the possibility of making films on your own domestically.
Well, I'm a student at ESCAC, so for you it should be, it's the Escuela Audiovisual School of Catalonia. Mm-hmm. So I'm among the Catalan and Spanish and international cinematographers, and I'm learning cinema right now because I decided to switch my previous multimedia job to cinema. I feel that I can change more things through cinema than I was doing it before through another kind of activities. But I would like to, as Levan is not here, I would like to say that it's easy to be a part of GNFC right now because everyone is asking for something, and it's the biggest group of the people, very ambitious, different generation from, I don't know, 20 years old till 88, and their position, it's not easy. There are some people that they really truly trying a lot, but still, because the vision of the government and the vision of the Ministry of Culture, let's say the strategy, the cinema is not a priority. And then if they will make a cinema as a priority, even in 1 year or 2 years, I mean, or the decade or 3-4 years, it might be changed. But right now, and since the first reform of Georgian National Film Center, it's not easy to be to work there because of this, because of the gap Mariam mentioned, because of a lot of people. They are more seekers than you can give them the money.
Yes, for sure.
So I believe a lot in VOD platforms, and as Georgi mentioned, it's nice to have success on festival, but it's difficult to catch the moment and to develop something around this, and the continuity, it's difficult to make it. I think that's why we need some. So yeah, I understand that because of the gap, we need to develop a lot of things, but also there's a digital era, a lot of new platforms, new language, new understanding, the renting. You said that there are not a lot of spectators in cinema on Georgian movie because they don't know how to buy ticket. They don't have the skills to get back to buy. I mean, they had it before, but then we have a big, the generation 55 plus, they are not visible in our society. It's not only about the cinema, it's about the social life. And if they are not visible, who's gonna go back to cinema? I mean, it's a two different process, to going back to cinema to watch movie there, and also to start to watch movie in cinema as a young generation. So that's why I was saying that everything is happening together. Something is somewhere we are very close to top with a lot of beautiful films, but somewhere technically or emotional, we are a bit down, and it's difficult to find a middle point because everyone is doing their job greatly. It's not about that they're doing bad. It's about it's happening parallelly. So, and I think we need to have a vision about the digitalization of this whole process to find our places there. And also, I like the festivals and the way to be screened and everything, especially if it's a long year festival and that kind of activities. But everyone has a priority, and there is the priorities, they are changing, and there are new countries or new continents the festivals wish to reach, and it's difficult to find your place there because of these priorities and the art politic. So that's why we need, for continuity and for our voices, we need something, some new vision about the digital existence of the Georgian cinema, especially a lot from the beginning of the previous century. And I believe that there will be a lot of discoveries about that part too.
Mariam,
yes, I just wanted to add something. Yeah, it come to me. So besides all this art politic, that there is not really art politic in Georgia, and there is very low budget for the films, and problems also with Georgian National Film Center fundings, etc. So I see the biggest problem also in education for films. I mean, there is no support for film institutes that the students could really get good education, and also to make movies, yeah, to learn in their study times. Yeah, so I mean, it's a big problem, especially in animation. I mean, there are some courses in Art Academy and the Film Institute, but it's not really enough. And because there is no financial support, I mean, you can't have one computer for 10 students, you know, like in animation, especially in these digital times. Yeah, so it's if somebody has luck and has at home computer, then yes, but or the digitizer, which you use in animation nowadays to draw instead of wasting paper just to draw digitally. So it's yeah, it's a bit expensive profession, animation, and yeah, so I see big problem in education also, in general, also in universities and stuff. It's a big topic, I think.
Mm-hmm. In terms of Georgian film projection abroad, as we were talking about co-productions, but this idea of collaboration, international collaboration, is probably the main way out for this kind of situation. Would you say that you see the Georgian originality being preserved during this process?
Yes, because for example, I'm doing with Andeshi International Film Festival the workshops in Georgia, and it's like for 5 days. We are training the young animators, and their projects are so individual, so different handwritings they have. So when we make a call, and the applicants, I mean, they're really nice projects, and so it makes me to, so for example, this year we had the 6th edition, and it makes me to do it each year, you know, like, because I see that they deserve and they need to have this kind of workshops. So that's what I can do without any financing support from the state. And Georgian National Film Center supports this workshop and also this animation festival. So it's yeah, so so it comes to money, I know, but it's in my profession it's very necessary to have to develop this industry.
All right. We have like 5 minutes left in this conversation. I would like to have your thoughts about Georgian cinema nowadays. What each of you appreciate more in terms of everything from history to contemporaneity here. I can begin by you, Mariam, in fact.
What I appreciate?
Yes.
Yeah, so I mean, I come from film family. So my grandfather, he was one of the first documentary filmmakers. So my father, he's also director. So for me, I grew up in film, so in studios, kind of. And yeah, for me, it's very important, the history for sure. And nowadays, it's slowly but surely, step by step, it's growing. And yeah, so I really wish good luck to young generation and just to do cinema. So like, yeah, I know it's very hard, but you have to be patient, and everything will be okay.
The same for you, Georgi.
So I appreciated Georgian cinema from 20s and 60s especially. So, and I wish that this kind of real cinema would come back nowadays.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I grow. So my teachers were from this generation, from 60s generation. So I grow up as a student from their knowledge about cinema. So my vision of cinema is like more Georgia 60s.
Yes, but me too. I'd like to see some of this comeback happening as well in terms of diversity of the already very diverse scene of Georgian film. And Anuna.
Everything is said, I guess, but I think that Georgia is a small but very ambitious country. And I think if we save this uniqueness of that kind of character and to develop it in an artsy way, it might be something new, unique, because we see if it's about the social issues, and which is the main thing drives me, we see everything all in one country. We don't need to go out to see a lot of philosophical or technical crises. And I think if we will fight with them with the way of the cinema and in general art, it might be a good, like we did in fashion industry. So so I think this is something unique. What can we do? Yes, we are a magic country, and that's true.
Yes, that goes without saying. I'm very happy to have met you here, all of you. I thank you so much in my name and Doc Lisboa, which organized this retrospective together with Cinemateca, and hope that we can that I can see your next projects as well. It was an immense pleasure for me to be part of this discovery of Georgian cinema here in Lisbon. Hopefully there will be more to come from all of you, and that your films will travel as much as Georgian cinema does, and will reach Lisbon very soon, hopefully.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Appreciate, and I big respect to you that you so deeply learned Georgian cinema and animation.
Not the language yet, but that will come.
I was reading some remarks and stuff, so it's really I really appreciate, and thank you for such a big retrospective. Yes, so thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you all. Bye then.
Thank you, Marcelo. Thank you very much. You really did great job. Georgia, not just for Georgian cinema, but for Georgia as well.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye all. We have to go, but see you soon.
See you.
Ciao.